metals is really the only problem, and that recycled plastics is not an issue?
I can't say that. We do sell recycled plastics, and it's a constant concern of mine that it's going to burn me. Right now, we test every single lot, simply for the plastic, which is really an excessive amount of testing.
You test it internally, or do you have a testing
No,
lab?
we can't afford, nor can we manage an internal lab. So we use outside. As I'm sure anyone who's eco-conscious, or even the marketing possibilities, if that's your motivation, there's a desire to incorporate as much as we can to reuse what we can. Vinyl on wires in educational products is very often recycled. No one's chewing on the wires used in an electricity kit. That's behavior that should be encouraged, and it's not making anyone, it's not harming anyone.
What, the chewing on the wire?
I'm sorry?
Sorry.
But those types of materials, you have to source virgin, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's going to cost more.
Several of you touched on the cost issue. Rick, you said that it would be extreme cost to go down to 100 parts per million. Rick, you said your costs will increase by 10 to 20%. The bicycle industry reference cost as well. I'd like to figure out if there's some way to quantify it. For example, Rick, I'd like to understand better the 10 to 20% figure, what goes into it first, and then secondly, for the bicycle industry, just using a real-life example, because of the lead, because of the CPSIA, I understand you've now redesigned the Schrader valve. What was the cost of doing that to cover the brass screws that nobody sucks on in any event? Well, it's a two-part question. Rick, why don't you go first? And then...
Okay. Well, I think that the reason costs are going to go up is partly, I think, reflective of factories' concern that getting the more purified plastics will be more expensive. We certainly see as volume shifts over that those costs abate. Where I believe that the costs will be permanent is in the cost of surveillance. So there'll be substantially higher surveillance, and there'll be substantially higher risk, and they have to charge us for that. So waste is the biggest cost that I think won't go away. When I was at Toy Fair last week, a friend of mine was telling me about their sad tale when they sold some materials to a major U.S. retailer, only to find out that a little tiny sticker on the thing had, in the opinion of the test lab, too much phthalates. So, of course, the product was rejected. It's not saleable. I mean, the whole lot is thrown in the garbage over a little tiny sticker. Now, you might say, well, he shouldn't have put that sticker on. But you hear these stories too frequently, and it may be reflective of the complexity of what we do. I appreciate your views on how we should buy, but I have 1,500 catalog items and really thousands of components, and there's a big difference between having one product and thousands. The complexity is exponential, grows exponentially, and so I just can't imagine, based on how we run our business, that this is really, in truth, controllable. If you look at, for instance, the error that Six Sigma companies make, how frequently they make errors, it's tasks. I think they make, I have the chart, I don't have it with me, I'm sorry, but Six Sigma companies like Nokia, they might have to throw out 1 pound per million. But if you add up all the tasks, take all the products and all the components and multiply it by all the requirements, you begin to see all of our annual tasks. It's like as bad as what Nokia faces, and we're not Six Sigma. Most companies in our industry are probably between 3 and 4 Sigma. The probability of failure is so huge, and what I can't tell you is what I'm going to fail on. So if I fail on something small, well, I can absorb that. But if I fail on something big, so those are the costs that I can't tell you I have a solution to. Now, maybe I'll figure it out. We'll certainly try. But there's going to be a lot of costs involved in figuring it out. More people, more money expended. And that's a cost.
Well, but if you fail on something big, Congress has made the policy decision that lead at a particular level is harmful. I mean, and that was a political decision that Congress made, perhaps based on science, perhaps based on politics. We'll let others in other settings debate that. But if you fail on something big, isn't there a safety implication there?
Well, we're talking today about lowering it from 300 to 100. So now you're asking me, do I think 100 is the health threshold? And I addressed it earlier and said that I believe that there's an absence of documented injury from lead and substrate, particularly at 100 parts per million or 200 or even 300. And even if there was a documented pool of known victims that could be identified and could be studied for mechanism, there's no causal link between the types of products that we make and those hypothetical or conjectural injuries. So I don't really think this is about health and safety. I think this is about compliance with an arbitrary standard.